Opening bay doors in 3, 2, 1. Begin.
Hey folks, Erik and I here. This week I've got a character guide for Phoebe. Phoebe is crazy. She has the potential to have the most overpowered DPS in the game, and that's what I'm shooting for in this guide. As per usual, I'm focusing on a PvP build. Later we'll look at good choices for a gear loadout for Phoebe, but let's start off right away with her Helix.
Meltdown.
Especially early game, you want to just focus on minions and not think you're going to destroy every one-on-one you come across. Phoebe is powerful but squishy. This option allows you to get in, whack some minions with your rapier, and get out. You'll still benefit from the EXP even if you don't get the killing blow on them. Preparation would be awesome if it didn't require so much to trigger. You have to hit an enemy with Blade Rush, then start hitting them with your primary, and make damn certain you hit them with the last hit of your primary combo in order for this to work. My love for hard work for a small reward ends at pistachios. Unless you're amazing, avoid this.
Earn points by
Now before we get to
backing
level
your
2, there's something you should keep in mind when playing Phoebe. You want to get in the habit of holding down both her primary and secondary attack buttons. It'll take a little getting used to, but it's how you maximize her damage output, and constantly holding down True Strike makes her an annoying target to hit. Alright, now for level 2. Both options are good, but a 6-second slowdown is way more than a lot of other slow abilities in the game. Especially in Meltdown, you have a lot more control over lanes by phase gating onto a wave of minions. Not to mention, you have a huge upper hand in one-on-ones with this, especially when considering the previous Helix choice. Shield Resonators by itself is alright. It might be a better PvE option, since slowing enemies isn't as crucial, but it synchronizes really nicely with an option further down Phoebe's Helix that we'll get into a little later. Here's a quick example of how great phase gate can be defensively. After serving that Oscar Mike a sword sandwich, Atticus and Miko corner me and I'm unable to move, which I have to say was quite rude of them and I didn't appreciate it. But thanks to phase gate, I get out of there and the movement speed helps me get to safety even quicker. And I get out of there way too fast for them to notice me, so don't be afraid to use phase gate to get out of shitty situations. Alright, on to level 3. If you're building Phoebe to be a bit more resilient and stay at the front line, I'd go with shield stabilizers. I can also see it having a place in PvE, but I don't find it to be an optimal choice for her skill set in PvP. If you're exploring her potential as an assassin, the other two options are a must-have. I haven't done the math and I don't know which one deals out more damage, but personally my True Strike is more accurate than my primary combo. I'd rather get the damage buff from that than risk missing out on the damage buff to her primary. Either way, these options massively increase Phoebe's already great DPS, and that's the kind of build I'm going with here. Don't forget to clear minion waves with Phoebe. Just because she's an assassin doesn't mean she isn't built to kill minions. One phase gate takes these minions' overshield away, and a couple of rapier strikes later, they're a filet mignon. That's right, I went there. Okay, level 4, when you're done cleaning up your puke. Phoebe's Blade Rush definitely isn't her best skill. You'll find yourself often missing enemies entirely with it, unless you're right in their faces, and I go pretty long without using it, so I don't really see an advantage to cooldown for it. Unintended innovation, on the other hand, makes Blade Rush a little more versatile. Sure, it moves slower, but it's a great way to start clearing an enemy minion wave. As soon as you see one, throw a Blade Rush at them, phase gate onto them, and by that time you won't need to swing your rapier that much to have them all dead. Phoebe gets really powerful at level 5. Her ultimate, Blade Cascade, will allow you to take control of certain areas and push enemies out of them. The best way to go about this is to phase gate right where you want to cause some havoc and immediately launch into your ultimate. They'll be slowed by the phase gate and forced to take some of Blade Cascade's damage. Okay, level 5. Blade Sweep and Reprise are both excellent options here and synchronize really nicely with the 150% damage increase for True Strike from level 3. I jump between the two. If I find myself focusing mostly on clearing minion waves, I go with Blade Sweep. But if I notice the enemy team often overextends, or I'm regularly getting the upper hand on an enemy or two, Reprise helps me secure the kill that much faster. I do pick Reprise here, but I usually go with Blade Sweep. I would choose Posada Soto if you don't have the mutation yet and you're having a bit of trouble keeping damage off of you. My aim with Blade Rush is terrible. This is probably the only time it's ever done me any favors. Just barely hitting this slippery Melka before she gets away. It doesn't even look like all of them hit her, it looks like just one hits. Really satisfying though. Okay, level 6. If you don't have the mutation yet, grab the 20% cooldown for Phase Gate. It's one of her best skills, and shield penetration for Blade Rush is pretty useless. But once you get contingency plan, choose it every time. Phoebe isn't a tank, and sometimes you'll have phase gated into a situation you want to get out of right away. This option guarantees your safety if that ever happens. This is that choice I said I'd get to later. If you don't have your shield and you want to phase gate toward an enemy, Level 2's shield resonators start your shield recharge immediately after. This has its benefits when phase gating toward battle, but even more so when trying to escape. Sometimes just one phase gate isn't enough to retreat from the enemy. Here's some quick KO porn before we get to level 7. Do keep in mind Phoebe shouldn't be able to win a one-on-one match with Shane and Oryx this easily. I was lucky that their skills were on cooldown, and by the time my slow had worn off on them, it was too late and I'd already done enough damage to secure the kill. But it's always satisfying. Alright, level 7. Phoebe's DPS is great because of her attack speed, so make it even faster. 20% is a huge increase and basically makes Phoebe straight up unfair. Once you've chosen this option on her Helix, it's pretty much game over for anyone you go toe-to-toe with. Don't be tricked into her skill damage increase, as it's not one of your primary sources of damage output. Yes, phase gate and Blade Rush do deal damage, and that's great, but phase gating enemies to death isn't what makes Phoebe deadly. It's her ability to come out of nowhere behind an enemy and take away a huge chunk of their health before they even realize you're there. Here's a good example of how phase gating and using your ultimate can help you, your allies, and you. This Oscar Mike has no idea I'm behind him. Once he does, he's already slowed for 6 seconds and my ult is doing crazy damage to him. He's quite turned around and ends up continuing to walk into my ult. Alright, level 8. Your phase gate already slows enemies for 6 seconds, deals a good amount of damage, and increases your movement speed. Why wouldn't you increase all of that by 15%? After going with this, you'll notice you can actually phase gate onto enemies with really low health and take them out just with phase gate. Scientific method lets you cast phase gate farther. Alright, that's level 8. Here's an awesome example of how crazy Phoebe's DPS is once you've got the extra attack speed from level 7. Once again, Oscar has overextended, and he's at full health with an overshield before I get to him. But my attacks take him down in seconds. And it always feels nice to get the KO right after they've cloaked. Alright, let's move on to level 9. I can't recommend refined technique, because as we've established, my technique with Blade Rush isn't what you'd call refined. It's not easy to land hits with Blade Rush from far away, but if you can do it, you should go with this option, and I hate you. If you don't have the mutation yet, the conduit isn't a bad choice, but unreliable. Your shield isn't always going to be full. Since I find it easier to hit enemies with Blade Rush at a closer distance, close quarters training is the way to go. And I really wouldn't recommend trying to go toe-to-toe with a Montana in PvP. This was a private versus match, so just don't do that. Okay, level 10. A good argument can be made for each of these choices. With Calamitous Cascade, I choose one enemy to focus on, and after phase gating to them, I just wail on them. They're down before the ultimate's animation is done. Not to mention anything else caught in your ultimate is taking 16% more damage from all sources. It's a great way to claim your territory without even needing to pee. Swordstorm works really well if you're on a larger map or the enemy team is finding easy ways out of your ult. The increase in movement speed is especially great against enemies who might have a skill that gets them to safety. But so is Stormbringer. You're sacrificing a little bit of punch behind that zone control that Blade Cascade has, but chasing down enemies with your ultimate following you around is just fun. And mean. And cruel. But mostly fun. Alright, now that we've got her Helix out of the way, let's take a look at her gear loadout. The downsides to how awesome Phoebe is are that she's not very fast and she's kinda squishy. For that reason, you should decide whether to choose a piece of gear that buffs her shields or her movement speed. If you're not worried about either of those, a nice piece of cooldown gear will work well in its place. But for Phoebe, you must leave room for attack speed gear, and stack them with another piece of gear. I also use this legendary that drops from Jailer Helix from the Renegade mission. It works beautifully with Phoebe's skill set, especially when you're getting almost 20% more attack damage from stacking melee hits, which, need I remind you, stacks faster with increased attack speed. You know what? Just play Phoebe as fast as you can. As you might have noticed, I've only made Battleborn videos, and while I love making them, you're going to see me put up some videos from other games very soon. The Battleborn videos definitely won't end. I'm actually going to put a video up sometime this weekend with some more details on where I'm taking my channel. But I have to say thank you, because this wouldn't be possible without you watching. It really does mean a ton. I never expected this much support or for people to even like these videos very much, so the validation I get from you beautiful people goes beyond just, oh yay, my videos don't suck. But I'm gonna stop the mushiness right here for the moment and save that for a later video. But thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe if this video helped you at all. You can click the logo on the bottom right of the screen to subscribe. Thanks again, and see you soon.